Hey everyone, yep, it's Andy, and we're back reading through the Bible. I know it's been a while since we got together to take a look at the good book, but let's make up for some lost time, eh? Sounds like I'm Canadian. I'm not Canadian. Genesis 38 is one of the big hillbilly inbred chapters of the Bible. It could be its own reality show. It's got all sorts of weird sex rules, and you know God is there to help enforce those weird sex rules. So let's do this. Let's go open up our good books and look at chapter 38 in the book of Genesis. At that time, Judah left his brothers and went down to stay with a man of Adullamad Hira. I guess that's a place. There, Judah met the daughter of a Canaanite man named Shua. I suppose this daughter doesn't need a name? Unimportant. She's just a Canaanite baby-making machine. He married her and made love to her. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son who was named E-R, not U-R. She conceived again and gave birth to a son and named him Onan. O-N-A-N. She gave birth to still another son and named him Shelah. It was at Kazib that she gave birth to him. Judah got a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the Lord's sight, so the Lord put him to death. I kind of feel sorry for This was his big shot at being a mythological character, and then gets killed by Yahweh. He dies like a punk. We don't even know how he dies or what was the horrible sin that got him killed. I don't think it was anything epic like being turned into a pillar of salt or having frogs rain down on him. He probably just cut himself shaving. God gave him one heck of an infection. I don't know. Let's get back to the next. Then Judah said to Onan, "Sleep with your brother's wife and fulfill your duty to her as a brother-in-law to raise up offspring for your brother." You heard that right. Onan had to impregnate his dead brother's wife. It was just tradition back then. You know, you had to carry on your dead brother's lineage. I guess that was mandatory. I don't know. Well, women are property anyway, so you could just like switch it back and forth, right? But Onan knew that the child would not be his. So whenever he slept with his brother's wife, he spilled his semen on the ground to keep from providing offspring for his brother. What he did was wicked in the Lord's sight. So the Lord put him to death too. God's pretty busy killing folk. I want to just talk for a second, and believe it or not, some Christians use this bit in Genesis 38 to prove that all birth control is wrong. Back to the text. Judah then said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Live as a widow in your father's household until my son Shelah grows up." For he thought, he may die too, just like his brothers. So Tamar went to live. You can see my cat back there, by the way. See? So Tamar went to live with her father's household. After a long time, Judah's wife, the daughter of Shua, died. Then Judah had recovered from his grief. He went to Timnah to the men who were shearing his sheep, and his friend Hira the Adullamite went with him. When Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law is on his way to Timnah to shear his sheep," she took off her widow's clothes, covered herself with a veil to disguise herself, and then sat down at the entrance to Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah. For she saw that, though Shelah had now grown up, she had not been given to him as his wife. You know, as was promised, she would have to marry him, or she would marry him. That's my cat again. When Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute, for she had covered her face. Not realizing she was his daughter-in-law, he went over to her by the roadside and said, "Come now, let me sleep with you." And what will you give me to sleep with you? She asked. A reasonable question under the circumstances, I'd say. I'll send you a young goat for my flock, he said. Will you give me something as a pledge until you send it? She asked. See, there was no credit cards back then. He said, what pledge should I give you? Your seal and its cord, and the staff in your hand, she answered. So he gave them to her and slept with her, and she became pregnant by him. After she left, she took off her veil and put on her widow's clothes again. Meanwhile, Judah sent the young goat by his friend the Adulamite in order to get his pledge back from the woman. But he did not find her. He asked the men who lived there, where is the shrine prostitute who was beside the road at Onan? I guess the Canaanite faith had shrine prostitutes. There hasn't been any shrine prostitute here, they said. So he went back to Judah and said, I didn't find her. Besides, the men who lived there said, there hasn't been any shrine prostitute here. It's like a mystery. Then Judah said, let her keep what she has. Well, we will become a laughingstock. After all, I did send her this young goat, but you didn't find her. All right, you're going to be a laughingstock for that. Maybe having your 2 kids killed by God. One for being a wanker. Ooh, wanker. After 3 months later, Judah was told, your daughter-in-law Tamar is guilty of prostitution, which I guess means sex out of marriage. And as a result, she is now pregnant. Judah said, bring her out and have her burned to death. Note how Judah had sex with who he thought was a prostitute, and it's all good. Tamar has sex out of wedlock, and it's time just, to kill her. Burn, baby, burn. And she was brought out. As she was brought out, she sent a message to her father-in-law. I am pregnant by the man who owns thee, she said. And she added, see if you recognize whose seal and cord and staff these are. I wonder whose they are. Judah recognized them and said, she is more righteous than I, since I wouldn't give her to my son Shelah. And he did not sleep with her again. When the time came for her to give birth, there were 2 boys in her womb. As she was giving birth, one of them put out his hand. So the midwife took a scarlet thread and tied it on his wrist and said, this one came out first. It's important about who gets what inheritance. The first one out gets the money. Oh, most of the goodies. But when he drew back his hand, his brother came out, and she said, so this is how you have broken out. And he was named Perez. Then his brother, who had a scarlet thread on his wrist, came out, and he was named Zerah. Interesting point, Jesus is supposedly related to Perez, who was actually a bastard from Judah's loins, right? It's weird. It's weird. So next time that you talk about Jesus, you can rightfully call him some sort of bastard, or from the lineage of bastards. Hey, thanks for watching. This was a great experiment. See you next time. Bye.